Good day, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July holiday weekend. Up here in the upper Midwest of Minnesota and Wisconsin, it was a scorcher. Upper 90s, lots of humidity. Actually, not all that comfortable to be able to go and celebrate our independence. But hey, it's time off of work. It's time to be able to go and spend with the family. That's all good. Part of what the weekend was, and it was at the tail end, is that I watched a little bit of the U.S. women's national soccer team go up against Mexico in their final match before they head to Tokyo for the Olympics. Now, I love watching the women's national team. Not only because they have a 44 consecutive unbeaten streak going on, but the way they go about their business, the way that they're connected as groups, forwards, midfield, defense, as well as integrated as a team to be able to go and master the beautiful sport of soccer. It's just entrancing to watch them, especially compared, quite honestly, to the men. Not just the U.S., but men overall. The way the women's national team handles their business is spectacular. But the reason why I bring them up today is because at the beginning of the match, the two commentators spoke about how the coach was changing the way that they were lined up on the field for a specific reason. Now, for those of you that aren't connected to soccer in any way, they have basically 3 levels, sometimes 4, that they go and place their 10 field players. And what the U.S. women's national team did is that they wanted to simulate the stress of being down a goal and set their shape and their formation in a manner that would put them at risk of, on the defensive end, not being able to go and handle capabilities in favor of bringing more forces to the front of the attack to be able to make up that goal that they needed. Now they're playing Mexico. Mexico, good quality team, but 28th ranked in the world. Not a team that the U.S. is going to be particularly scared of, either last night or in the Olympics. But it was marvelous that the coach wanted to go and put added stress onto the team by putting them in a specific scenario to be able to go and practice and test themselves under conditions before the Olympics in case it was needed. I've talked about this in previous podcasts, the handle of stress management and what's going to happen with our organizations now that COVID is generally winding down in the United States, that the next wave of stress is coming, whether it be employees looking to leave, whether it be customers demanding things that they gave us grace on during the pandemic. They're not going to give us grace anymore. Are our organizations going to be able to go and handle these new stressors? And I've encouraged listeners and leaders to be able to go and test their systems now. First, actually see what might happen to anticipate the stress that might be coming, and then put the organization through the motions to be able to go and work within that environment. See where the stressors come. So what happened with the women's national team? It was interesting. At the 5-minute mark, very early in the game, when things usually go and are calm, people are trying to go and find each other out, what the flow of the game's going to be. Mexico actually got a really good shot on goal. That was kind of scary, which was indicative of the way the U.S. was playing. More aggressive offensively. They only had 3 defenders back, where usually they'd have 4. They were able to see some stress points and openings that they're going to have to address before the Olympics. But what was even better then is that at the 10-minute mark, they scored their first goal. It was a beautiful goal by having one of the people who go and play the midfield usually. She pressed up and was involved in the action to be able to get an absolutely marvelous goal. So because she was intentionally moving forward, being more aggressive, things happened to put stress on Mexico that allowed them to be able to score a goal. Beautifully enough, 2 minutes later, they scored another goal. Granted, again, Mexico, not the greatest of teams, but to be able to go and practice the concept and to be able to go and work with one another, to be able to figure out what that might look like, what types of things they might need to do in a game right before the Olympics that really doesn't matter. They knew that they could end up winning throughout the course of the 90 minutes. That wasn't going to be an issue. But they were striving to become better. They were striving to test themselves for when it really is going to matter. Have you, as a leader of your organization, taken time, now that COVID is winding down and you're seeing things getting back to normal, about what these stressors could be and how you can put the organization through some stress tests to see where you have some weaknesses, some areas of strength, and what the opportunities might be for the organization to move forward? Let me give you a couple of tips for things that you might want to consider and some ideas on what you might want to go through to be able to go and identify and execute on this stress management test. First thing, understand, get a grasp on how well you're executing on your mission through COVID, how you did, what you weren't able to go and do, and recognize how fast you were able to go and adjust and find new ways to be able to go and serve the needs of your customers and not only stay afloat, but thrive. And understand and be ready to celebrate how that added velocity to the business, to the organization, can be used and leveraged to be able to go and tackle the opportunities and the risks that will be coming forth to you. By looking to be able to go and maintain the high velocity that you developed and even increase it in decision making and in actions because your team is now ready. They've learned that they can do it without dying. You should be able to go and keep that velocity up. You need to be able to go and make certain that you don't go back down to the velocity where you were at before, which may have been good for the times. They're not going to be good now. Number two, how do you use that velocity in the first test to be able to go and gain an understanding from anybody and everybody in the organization about what the risks and opportunities that are in front of you might be? Talk with the leadership team. Have them talk with the frontline people in the organization. Look at the data that you were able to gather over the last 15 months of COVID to be able to go and see where you slipped, where customers gave you grace, but you could see that they're going to want and need for their mission to be fulfilled, for you to be able to go and perform at that higher level. Use that velocity to be able to go and get that information quickly while still maintaining its value. Not that you're just throwing crap at the wall, but they're using their quickness to be able to go and put the ideas out, as well as why it's a risk, what the opportunities are, and what could be some possible solutions or paths forward. Number three, with that same similar type of velocity, do an analysis, a gap analysis about where you're at now, where the risks or opportunities say that you'll need to be and recognize what needs to be done within these short periods of time? Are you a retailer that has the holiday season coming up and you don't know if you're going to have right inventory because suppliers are stretched, resources are depleted, especially in certain areas? We've heard about the computer chips, the grape nuts that I go and eat every morning. We're gone for a period of weeks during COVID. Look at your entire supply chain to be able to go and see whether or not you'll have the ability to be able to go and service the needs of your customers. If you're a school superintendent, you've seen through COVID the inequities that have been going on, the need for hybrid learning, the demands and possibilities for your students. How do you quickly, with school coming up, be able to set in motion the great things that were done during COVID with the new world, with the new money that you might have gotten through federal dollars in stimulus, to be able to bring greater equity and greater impact for your students? That needs to be done quickly. Whatever your organization is, there's going to be something. Figure out the gap analysis and understand what could be done quickly to be able to go and have the impact and incrementally get better. Next, understand you're going to make mistakes. There are going to be failures. There's going to be weak points. You're venturing into new areas. The beautiful thing about that is that your organization just went through that in new things, and they saw the vitality that came from being able to go and execute in new ways. And you gave them grace when they found some weak points, stress points, failure points. Understand that they're going to be pushing into those new realms that they don't know about, and it's going to be okay to find them. Because chasing that failure is going to make you more successful. If you go and search for success, that bar that you know that you can hit, you are not guaranteed to be able to go and meet your client's needs, to meet your mission. Only by chasing failure, the mistakes, to find out where your organization is stretched and then be able to go and reinforce it, are you going to be able to meet and exceed expectations of customers, stakeholders, employees, the community. So take on that challenge of that stress moment to be able to go and reach for the sky. Knowing that you're going to end up losing some altitude in some places, shore it up and you're going to keep on going. And that you support the people in the organization unconditionally because they're giving their best, just like they have in the last 15 months. Now, if you do this now, before maybe you need to go and do it, one, you have a jump start on what's going on. Two, you can make those mistakes before they really become outward customer facing. So you can make the adjustments before it's really going to matter. Just like the U.S. Women's National Team did. They tested themselves before it really mattered. So now they can make the adjustments on what they need to do, practice that for when it comes into the knockout stage in the Olympics. And if they end up getting down a goal, they know what to do. Your role as leader has changed in the last year and a half. And now's the great opportunity to go and lead your group on a quest to become the best they can be. Do it beforehand. The stress will be less. The ability to be able to make great changes will come quicker. And there's going to be a lot of smiling faces around the office. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I'd love to be able to get your feedback. Put some feedback on this episode page. Love to be able to go and get it. Any questions you might have, that would be marvelous. I'd love to be able to take them. We might be able to go and create an episode out of it. Enjoy this short week, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.